priority is, or ever kind of has been, her love life. Haley, all she's ever wanted was family, and even if it happened in a quite unusual situation, by getting pregnant and having her child, she finally got the one thing that she's wanted her whole life, which is family. And so really hope is the only important thing in her life right now,
So the other guys are talking about this new season feels a little like a reboot or a fresh start. Did you get that feeling working with season?
Yeah, definitely. Season 2 is definitely about family, and which, can create kind of a bit of a restriction in the dynamics, Whereas this season, we're introducing all these new characters, which are characters that aren't related to most of our characters, which creates different dynamics, whether it's romantic or physical or violent. It's not just about siblings and the behavior between that kind of, So I think it's going to create some really interesting, love triangles, some really interesting, alliances between people, and people are going to play people in different ways, and there's nothing besides the Michelsons, no one's tied in any way, whereas sometimes with the siblings, they all have this, always and forever bond. So when you have all these new players, they have no ties to the original, so either they're foe or friend, So that's what I think is going to be really different about this season.
Are we going to delve more into your backstory at all this next season, do you think?
I think so. That's what's been promised to me. So, there's so many kind of really detailed descriptions of Haley's childhood, and I think they're there for a reason. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. And I think the intention has always been to have, a long-running show, and so I don't think that, hopefully, the writers have rushed to tell that story, but I do think it's a story that will be told and needs to be told, and I think planting little things about her parents being killed and her being, adopted, and the way that she turned is a little suspicious, and was that really the way that she turned, or was there something a little weirder and darker that happened? And so I think that's something that they do have up their sleeve and they have ideas for, and hopefully this will be the season that it plays out. Yeah. So where we kind of find Haley and the pack in the beginning of the third season, once a month they are human, and Haley and Elijah has been coming to Haley every full moon and bringing hope, bringing clothes, and filling her in on what's been happening, in New Orleans and in the compound and with Klaus and everything. So that's kind of her one, not human tie, but you know what I mean, her tie with the outside world. And I do think, the pack in their wolf form has been getting closer and stronger and learning to kind of be who they really are a little bit. But I do think that when they do eventually become human, that's going to kind of follow them a little bit, that kind of animalistic mentality. And it's really, I always really look for, when I think about Comic-Con, I just think about doing that panel. It's a really wild experience, like you said. We're in Atlanta, and we have Twitter, and that's a great way to communicate with the people that are watching our show, but to walk out and to actually see the physical amount of people that care enough to come and line up and buy tickets to go see this panel for an hour is super cool. And so, and it's also, that is so kind of directly for the fans, so you're really there to talk to the fans, they have questions, and it's the closest, way to really, really connect with them, and I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Are you amazed at the passion of the fans where they want Haley and Klaus to be together? Because they are really passionate.
Yeah, they are really passionate. Yeah, I think it's really nice. Everyone's negative, and everyone on Twitter, but I wish I was that passionate about anything. And I think that's what it is. I don't think people are really trying to be mean. I think sometimes maybe things become a little bit negative, but it's ultimately because these fans are so passionate. They feel like they know these people, and it's like the way that you're passionate about your friend dating the wrong person, and you're angry about it, and you're, that's how I see all that on Twitter and on Tumblr and all that kind of thing. But Klaus and Haley, I think it's not ruled out at all. I just think it has to happen in an organic way, and I don't think right now it makes sense for Haley and Klaus to be together. But because they've gone through so much, and Klaus has done some really awful things to Haley. But as I said, this show hopefully will be on for a long time, and we can really tell stories and not just throw out storylines to appease people. I think you want to kind of really, the payoff needs to be worth it at the end. And whether that's with Elijah or with Nathan Jackson or with Klaus, we'll see. Yeah. A lot of boys.
I really enjoyed watching how has that been
Yeah, it's cool. The pack is really cool. I always feel like when I'm shooting those scenes, it's like having a bodyguard or an entourage. That's what it feels like. But it's nice. It's a really cool kind of story to play, and it's a little I don't get to do any of the period stuff, and it's the closest thing to kind of the period stuff that the other guys get to do, to have this pack of wolves. It's a really cool little storyline. I like doing it.
Is there anything particular about her you'd like to see them explore some more?
Definitely what you guys said before. I really want to see the backstory. That's something I think is really important for me. I want to know what happened. That's number one important. But also for the fans, I also think it's a really interesting story. And I think what's so cool about the originals is that we do all these flashbacks and stuff, but I don't think all the flashbacks necessarily have to be hundreds of years ago. I think that there's flashbacks there was that storyline that Marcel says that he basically saved Haley when she was an infant. I want to see that story on television. You can't just be oh yeah, how random, we know each other, you saved me 25 years ago, whatever. It needs to be played out. So that's what I think is going to happen.